something, we set out to make something meaningful. Not that those movies aren't, but the original idea was, okay, what if we try and do a deep dive character study about one of these characters. For me, it was Joker that I was attracted to, but and in it, kind of address the issue that we certainly have in the States, and I think is all over the world, which is this sort of lack of empathy that we see more and more of nowadays. And so that was the basic original idea.
Could you have conceived the response that the film would have, not just in terms of the awards, the nominations, the number of people who've seen the film and gone back to see the film, but the real kind of the heart that it's connected with in terms of the real people, the real situations that people have seen something in this film that feel like it's been a voice for them.
Did we predict that? No. I mean, it's something you always hope for. You hope that people see it through the correct lens with what you're trying to do. This movie really took off in a way. I mean, I think a lot of people at first just showed up because it was called Joker, and it is an origin story connected loosely to the Batman world and the comic books. And then I think they watched it and got something else from it. But you always hope any movie you make is going to connect in that way, and that people will kind of feel it on a cellular level what you're trying to do. We didn't know it would be as big as it was, honestly, and it's been really thrilling.
Was it easy to write?
Was it easy to write? No, I mean, writing for me is the hardest part of making a movie. It's just, staring at a blank page. And, I wrote it with my friend Scott Silver, and it took us, more than a year to write it, which isn't abnormal, but it goes through a lot of drafts and a lot of stages, and you start layering in the other themes in the movie. Another thing the movie's about, not just the lack of empathy in society, it's about childhood trauma and the sort of lack of love in Arthur's life. And in a simple way, I think the movie's about the power of kindness. And so to layer all that stuff into the script, as you say, it just takes a while.
You said you wrote it, with Joaquin in mind, sort of thing, but was there a particular performance of his that for you were like, that's why I want him in this film, that's why he's right, or I'm writing this with him in mind for this character?
Well, we wrote it for Joaquin from the beginning. When I pitched it to Warner Brothers, I said, imagine Joaquin Phoenix and da-da-da-da-da. It was really one of the first ideas I had was Joaquin Phoenix. And for me, it wasn't one role. I mean, Joaquin to me is one of the best actors of my generation. If you've seen him in other films, going all the way back to the Gladiator and Walk the Line, and of course, more recently, The Master and Inherent Vice, and Her. He's just incredible. And but it's also, I feel like Joaquin he's a bit of I didn't know him personally before we started writing it, but when I look at him, he feels like an agent of chaos. He feels like he has some wild streak in him. And if you go back to all the Jokers in film since the 1989, right, Tim Burton's, you had Jack Nicholson, the amazing Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, they all sort of have this wild streak in them, even as people, if what you know of them. And I thought Joaquin had that as well. Not that an actor can't act that, they always do, but there's something about it being in your blood.
How is he to direct?
I mean, he's a dream because he'll try anything, and he'll do anything, and he'll do it 40 different ways if I want to do it 40 different ways. He's the ultimate collaborator. He really he cares about it on a really deep level. We talked about the movie for months before we started shooting it, and Joaquin likes to go like deep, and every day I thought, okay, we're done. That'll be it. He goes, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'd go back to his house, and we would talk deeper about it. And I like to say Joaquin is the tunnel at the end of the light. just when you think you're there, we're going to go a little bit further down. But it was amazing.
But there was a wonderful, I love that whole idea that things happen for a reason, and with regards to, scheduling and stuff, it meant that you couldn't shoot the movie chronologically,
Right.
but that almost kind of helped in a way in terms of, for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, oftentimes you don't shoot a movie in order, but with this movie we wanted to, because it's such a slow burn of Arthur turning into Joker. But the bad news was De Niro, we only had him for 8 or 9 days, and his 8 or 9 days happened to be the beginning of October, which was really our third week of shooting. So it was really hard for Joaquin to spend 2 weeks doing Arthur, just finding Arthur's rhythm, and then have to be Joker for the big talk show at the end. And we were really nervous about it. Joaquin was nervous about it, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise. I think what Eve is getting at, because once he was able to inhabit Joker, it really helped inform him on what to do with Arthur. So much so that we even went back and reshot some of the original Arthur stuff because we found these other layers to Arthur by playing Joker.
Do you, we have this thing in the UK, like, where they have blue plaques up for kind of famous people who are, like, you know, born in this house sort of thing.
Right.
And those steps now,
Right.
kind of like, they're kind of world famous, I imagine that it's just, but I think that that's one of many, many moments in this film and many emotions and feelings and connections this film had, that this is a film that people are going to be talking about for a very, 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 very long time. And I don't know if you've been able to kind of just take a step back in any way and just take stock of this thing that you've created that has connected on a level that is...
Yeah, well, I have been, because I've talked to a lot of audience members at screenings like this who've come up to me and told me stories about how it affected them and why it affected them, whether they have their own issues with mental illness or they know somebody who struggles from it, that it's really been, I have been able to kind of take stock and appreciate what it's meant to people. And other people see it just, by the way, as an origin story of Joker, and that's okay too. As for the steps, yeah, I mean, when we filmed that scene, I thought it would be something, but I didn't know it would turn into this iconic thing that it has. And maybe they'll build him a statue like Rocky. You know, at the top of the Rocky steps, they have a statue. We'd like a Joaquin statue.
I did that when I went to Philadelphia. The one thing I wanted to do was have a film cheesesteak and run up the steps. So yeah, there we go. Right, we've got some time for some questions from you guys, so please don't do that.
Yeah, I really just want to say how much I appreciate you guys coming, having seen the movie once or twice already, or 6 times like my boy here. It means a lot that you come out, and so I'm happy to answer questions that people might have. I know you got here early and all that stuff, so.
Okay, let's get this gentleman in the third row. He was first in, and we'll get a mic over here so we can come straight over. Go for it, sir.
Hi, hi Todd, just
Hello.
a bit nervous, excuse me. I've just got a very quick question. I've been reading in the trades and papers that you wanted to start a DC Black label. I was just wondering if you've got any comments with that, about other characters, and if you have any other characters that you'd like to do on that label, like something...
Yeah, what he's referring to is when I pitched the idea for Joker.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. When I pitched the idea for Joker, because I think big, I went and I pitched actually not just one movie, but a label called DC Black, where we would do these. I pitched 3 villain origin stories, Joker being the first one, and 2 others. And it wasn't all for me to direct. I said, I'll do Joker, so-and-so will do this, and we'll get, her to do that. And they were like, calm down, you're not starting a label here. We can do one movie and see how it works out. But what we've learned from the way people responded to this is, while it was a huge success, it doesn't necessarily need its own label. What I've noticed is DC has realized the movies don't need to be connected, all of them. You can do this Joker thing, it has nothing to do with Wonder Woman, and it has nothing to do with Aquaman. Like, it's okay for them to be separate. So I don't know that they're gonna do it. We don't need it doesn't need to be a label. At that time when I pitched it, they were connecting everything kind of in that Marvel way, and I just thought this is a way to not confuse audiences, where you have Suicide Squad, happening over here, why is there a different Joker? So it was more of a way to clear it up, but they decided that we didn't need that.
Okay, we go over here. Hello, sir.
First of all, I just want to say, great piece of work. Absolutely love Joker.
Thank you.
It's one of those things we haven't seen in Hollywood yet, so it really defied it and everything. Personally, what was your favourite moment from watching the film?
I guess I would say the scene with Bob, De Niro, and Joaquin, mainly because, to me, Robert De Niro is the greatest of all time. I've worshipped him since I was 11. And to be able to direct him with the next generation greatest of all time, Joaquin, for me as a director, it was just the most thrilling and intimidating for a little bit, thing. So I would say that whole scene, which took us like that thing probably took us 7 days to shoot, or 6. It was an epic scene for obvious reasons. There's a lot of dialogue and a lot of ways to do it. Yeah, that was probably my favorite thing.
How do you prepare for that? You know, when you are faced with that, you know, that hero.
Well, it's actually really, I shouldn't say it was difficult because it's two people sitting in a chair to talking.
Yeah.
It was more just, there's so much performance on Joaquin's side of it. And as far as sets go, it's rather big. We had real audiences out there. We had real TV cameras shooting. So we were shooting 9 cameras every time because there was the 4 TV cameras,
yeah.
and then, well, 3 or 4 movie cameras. So we were shooting 7 or 8 cameras the whole time. It was pretty wild.
Was he what you wanted him to be, Mr.
De Niro?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a class act. He just knows his thing.
He's a man of few words.
He's a man of few words, and him and Joaquin couldn't have more different styles, so, which was great for this, you know, but it was an interesting, illustration of 2 different schools in a way.
Okay, next question. We got someone down here, yeah, just right there. There we go, and then we'll get another one over here. Thank you.
I love the movie, and thank you for being here, Todd.
Sure.
My question's around the creative process. Did you have moments of doubt from idea generation, I believe, back in 2016?
Yeah.
All the way through until
now, I'm
post-production?
still doubting.
How did you work through those moments of doubts? Like, how are you going to pull this off? I mean, you did, but
Yeah,
how did you
no,
move through that?
it's a great
Thank
question. Were
you.
you a writer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. As a writer, you're always faced with moments of doubt. And when we were making it, I mean, Joaquin and I had many conversations where we thought, this is going to end our careers. So the moments of doubt just go the whole time. The way I get through it is because this is now my 10th movie, and I've been there before, and I've had that. You just have to kind of power through it and stay singular in your vision, but remain collaborative. I'm speaking now as a director in the process. But I do think all a director ultimately is a purveyor of tone and their point of view. So as long as you kind of stick to what that original thing was that got you excited, even though you have 14 trucks parked up the street and 300 crew members, you know, you just can't, it's too late to doubt it. The train has left the station, so to speak.
We've got someone right down the front there in the corner. We'll come to you. Hello, just come in with a microphone, there we go.
Hi, Todd Phillips.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
I am a huge fan of yours.
Thank you.
Can I be your friend?
Wait, this is not how Q&As are. You have to have a
We
question.
got limited time, so if we...
Todd Phillips.
You-
Which movie did you like directing the most?
Which movie did I like directing the most?
Wait, I have 3 options for you.
Oh, go.
Did you like directing the Hangover franchise? Or Project X?
Yeah.
Or The Joker?
Well, of those that you listed, I didn't even direct Project X. I was a producer. But of the ones you listed, I would say Joker. Yeah, I would say Joker because the ability to work with one actor was very different for me. I'd made movies about groups of people before, and the idea to go really deep with one actor, particularly Joaquin, was really something special.
Okay,
Thank you.
Let's
We've
do
got to get
another.
some other questions, sorry.
Can I
if we
give my
come
number to your security guard?
Okay, someone get the mic off that lady, please.
No, thank you. You're
Thank
very
you so
nice.
much for your question. Right, have you got a microphone there? There we go. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Great movie, first of all.
Thank you.
What's your thought about Hollywood today and superhero movies, so to say, dominating 2019-20 and so on?
Well, I mean, I think, I think maybe you're referring when Martin Scorsese had said,
I am indeed, yeah.
Right, he said that it's not cinema. I don't know that I share that opinion because I don't love the idea of lumping everything into one group. It would be like saying gangster movies are all the same. Well, they're not. He makes some of the best ever, and there are some bad ones. So I think the same goes with comic book films. I think there's some really great work. I'm friends with a lot of the actors and directors that make those movies. I know how much work goes into those movies. So I think it's on a case-by-case basis, but I do think there's some really interesting stuff being done, acting-wise, story-wise, technically, in comic book films that can't really be ignored.
Thank you. If we can go up to the back a bit, let's get to the Joker first down the front, and then we'll come up to the back.
Joker,
This better be
that's
a good one.
This could be, this is about to get worse before it gets better.
Here we go.
I'm kidding.
No pressure.
No, go.
Yeah, before I ask a question, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
When you bring me out, will you introduce me to Joker? Now, basically, going back to what you were saying about, they got all these Suicide Squad, other DC movies, everything. Because this, you didn't expect it, as you said. It was a success. Please tell me there's going to be a part 2.
Oh, so he's asking about it. I don't know if you guys can hear the questions up there. Can you? Okay, yeah, he's asking about a sequel.
They can hear it.
Okay, and the truth is, what Joaquin and I love about this movie is how it connected thematically. The things we were trying to do really resonated. I'm talking about the underneath. I joke, I say this. Everybody wants to talk about the spark, but this movie's really about the powder, and I think that's what made people connect. If we were able to find another theme that resonated in the same way, that didn't feel forced, we would very much be interested in exploring another one. I know Joaquin thinks there's a ton of exploration to be done with Joker. I know I love it too and love working with him, but we haven't really sat down and figured that out and talked about it. Obviously the studio, when a movie that costs $60 million does $1.1 billion or whatever around the world, they want that. So I'm not being like coy about it and pretending like, oh, we never talked about it, but really it would be about, because I think the last thing we'd want to do, not to burst anybody's bubble, is we're not going to make a movie about the clown prince of crime starting a syndicate of criminals in Gotham. That's just not this Joker. So it would be about finding another way in that resonated with people.
Thank you for your question. Okay, let's head up to the back a bit and get some hands. If you guys can just find someone and get a mic.
Yeah, just
that'd
pick
be great.
anybody.
Go for it. Just get a mic and then tell me where they are. Here we
I
go. Go.
Hey, so
Yeah.
amazing movie.
Thank you.
Given Arthur's age in the movie and the loose link to Bruce Wayne and his age, that clearly means when Bruce grows old, that's not the Joker he's fighting.
Right.
I got the impression you were trying to say Joker was a movement, not a person. Is that what you're aiming at?
Not really. I mean, I think, again, in this is a different universe. This is our own version of Gotham, our own version of Joker, and in our version, this Joker's 35 years old, and that kid's 12, and when that kid's 25, our guy's 45 or 47. I can't do all that math so quick. And it would work out, but there have been some people that think, oh, it's a representation. This is not Joker. He's the inspiration for Joker, or Joker is a movement. And I'm just saying, to us the math works out, but that's also a valid interpretation. And what I like about the movie and what we did intentionally in the movie is the ambiguity of some of these things. There are other people that say,
it's
wait.
like the joke at the end, right?
Right. Or people
how
know
much of it was real.
That's right. What famously, one of the things we took from the comic books, and we didn't take a lot, but we did take some things, is that idea in The Killing Joke when he says, I prefer my past to be multiple choice. We kind of did our own version of that and stuck with the ambiguity, so I thought that was really important. But I do like hearing other people's theories, even a mathematician like yourself.
Thank you. Where are we going next?
Thank you, it was an amazing movie.
Thank you.
We've got ones here, go.
Hi there, I was interested to hear what was going into your process when it was coming to the needle drops in the movie. There's a lot of really interesting music used within it, so I'd be interested to hear the process behind that.
As far as the needle drops go, for me, I think that as a director, as a filmmaker, you have all these kind of tools with which to paint with, and music, needle drops in specific, are one of my favorites to play with. I don't know if you have a particular question about one in general, but we just, there are many different ones and they mean different things, but it is one of my favorite parts of editing, is just finding the right song. Some of those songs we wrote into the script, they've been there from the beginning, and some we change when we edit and we go, oh, this would be cooler or better.
How easy is it to get Sinatra?
Sinatra, it wasn't as hard,
Yeah.
it was, all that stuff is money ultimately, but, if it's available, some artists, you just can't get their music. They don't make it available to movies. But Sinatra's catalog is available, and yeah.
That, I mean, that at the extending the clouds.
Yeah.
It's just
It's pretty
perfect.
beautiful.
So beautiful. Right, where are we going next? Who's got a microphone? Go.
Love the movie, so thank you very much, first of all.
Thank you.
And so you've got a lot, not just in Hollywood, but also with Parasite, the Korean film, and your movie being very much about a kind of a social commentary versus the haves versus the have-nots.
Right.
And I just wondered what was like your take on that and kind of that becoming more prominent in, movies at the moment.
I think it's really important now that when you have the opportunity to make a statement, to go back to needle drops, when I was younger, people would write protest songs. I don't see as much of that nowadays in the music business, but Neil Young wrote Ohio. There are these great protest songs. And I think as artists, it almost becomes a responsibility when you have the opportunity to make a statement of, be it of protest or point something out, like wealth inequality or how this system is broken and we're failing as a human experiment, which is in here as well. When you take a guy with mental illness and you say, yeah, we're closing down the office, I can't see you anymore. I think it's important to use those opportunities in artists and make movies that can have an impact or are meaningful in a certain way. I thought Parasite, I thought he did it beautifully. It's still a movie that you enjoy, even if you miss the message entirely. And I think that's kind of the magic of filmmaking. I jokingly say, when Barack Obama was president, I wrote and directed 3 Hangover movies. And then everything changed. And then we got Donald Trump and we went off and wrote and directed Joker. And it's very much a statement of movies tend to be a mirror for what's going on in the world. And so, yeah.
Right. Okay, we got a microphone over here. There's a lady just back there, or this gentleman there. This gentleman there, great. Who's got a microphone?
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi. I thought it was an amazing piece of art. I just wondered, I was getting some vibes of kind of Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. So with that in mind, was it kind of important for you to get De Niro? Did you have that in mind at all?
We definitely had it in mind. Early on, we talked a lot about not just those 2 movies, and people bring those up a lot, but the movies of that time. It was really about the films of the 70s and early 80s that I grew up loving. It was Sidney Lumet, it's Milos Forman, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, it's certainly Marty, Network, Sidney Lumet. There's a ton of movies, there's even a little Death Wish in there. These are movies that are in my DNA from just watching them my whole life. The De Niro thing, though, is definitely, the idea of De Niro definitely came up because if you've seen King of Comedy, he plays Rupert Pupkin and da-da-da. So I went to Bob, I said, "Will you read this?" I said, it's definitely inspired by a little bit by King of Comedy. He read it, he got it, and didn't really see it as much as maybe you or I did. It didn't seem cute to him in that way. It just seemed like, yeah, okay, I get it. And he kind of took the part because it's the exact opposite of who Bob is. If you've known Bob or ever seen him on a talk show, he's a man of few words, as he had said. So I think he was exercising a different muscle in it. But yeah, there's a lot of things that we were inspired by going back to a silent film called The Man Who Laughs from 1929. Yeah.
100 years old, that's crazy that's something that's...
The movie,
yeah,
it's true.
I just quickly, I've got a quick question before we come to you. Just in terms of the colours of the film as well, it feels like you almost created like new colours, a new palette in terms of film, because it's such a sensual thing that the colours evoke and make you feel as a film fan. But it's such an important part of the film, I think, as well. Was that an easy thing to create?
Well, no, I mean, it wasn't easy, but it's something we talk about a lot in all movies, and I think all directors do, is sort of the palette with which the movie's going to live in. We wanted it to feel, again, very of its time. When I say 70s, when they would use, we use a lot of sodium vapor lightings in the subway, which are those orange lights that you don't see as much anymore. So things like that subtly just tell you it's not now. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Hi Todd.
Hello.
I thought the film was really good, great piece of art, and I just want to say, I know prior to the film there was a minor bit of controversy surrounding it because of what people thought the film would portray, and I just want to ask, what did you make of that, and do you think it helped the film in terms of its success?
I don't know that it helped the movie, honestly. It was, to us, very disconcerting. The movie became painted with a brush that the violence in it was irresponsible, which I couldn't disagree with more. I actually think the violence that is in the movie is oddly responsible because it's horrific and feels real, just like violence is. I would argue that, you know, other movies where violence is celebrated is much more irresponsible, so I don't know why suddenly we got painted with that brush. I think the movie is divisive. It's certainly unintentionally divisive on our part. We didn't set out to make a film that's divisive, but I do believe in these times right now, everything is divisive, so I didn't want to take it too personally. But it was a bummer for us. I don't know, you'd have to tell me if it helped. Did it help you? Is that what got you to go to the movie? You know, like, I'm not sure if it helped.
I mean, it got me more interested.
Okay, good. So it helped a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But it's the idea that people were writing comment pieces about don't see this film, you know, kind of thing.
Well,
But
there
I've not
was
seen
that.
this
There
film.
was like police at every theater. When I was in New York on opening night, they had literally cops parked outside of every theater with guns, and you couldn't come dressed in Joker masks or costume at all. I mean, it was like a little bit. So I kept worrying it was going to scare people away a little bit because there was like this threat level when there was no credible threat ever really reported. It just became a thing. So it was frustrating.
You'd seen the movie as well. Right, we go in there, and there's a lady right over the end there as well, if we can get to that side as well. Once we've got, we got anyone up here? Where are you guys? Yeah, there we go, man at the back right there. Hello.
Hi, Todd.
Hello.
As a director, what's the process when it comes to like constructing the shot list from the script? Did you construct the shots and the color palette yourself in terms of like your ideas, or was it more of a negotiation between you and Lawrence?
Well, I would not say a negotiation. It's a collaboration with Larry that starts really early, and we start breaking down the script 4 or 5 months before we start shooting. We go through every scene and we talk about what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, and that'll change again 3 times as we move closer and closer to it. And with Joaquin, sorry if this is too inside baseball but with Joaquin, we really wanted to light 360, meaning we wanted to give him the freedom to be able to walk around the set and not be locked into that chair while his mom is locked into this chair, and we'll shoot it here and we'll shoot it there. Joaquin, it was a much looser vibe, so we lit and predetermined everything based on feeling that that's what he would need for this movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We got someone over there. Hi.
What conversations did you have with your composer, and did the themes come at script level, or did they come after the edit?
That's a great question. The score, the composer, done by Hildur
She's amazing.
Gunnadóttir.
Gunnadóttir?
Yeah, she is amazing. And what I did was, my music editor, when I was writing the script, who's done, I don't know, 6, 7 movies with me, he called me up and he said, "Have you seen this movie Sicario 2? And I said, "Not yet." And he goes, "You should go."
Johansson's score.
Right. No, that's Hildur alone. That's actually the first movie Hildur did alone. But anyway, he said, "Did you see this movie?" I said, "No." He goes, "You should go check it out. I think you'll love the score." I went, I saw it, I did love the score. I wrote Hildur an email. I said, "Hey, I have this script I'm working on." I sent her a very early draft of the script. She called me, she thought it was great. We talked about it. We talked for like 45 minutes about the screenplay. And everything she was saying felt like she just got it. So I said, "You know what, why don't you just start writing music now based off the script? Come up with some themes and vibes and that sort of thing." Normally when you make a movie, you shoot the movie, you send scenes to the composer, and they kind of send back music for the scene. I had her writing the music off the script, and it was a totally liberating and different way to do it, because by the time we started shooting, we had 5 cues from Hildur that I was able to play for Joaquin, play for the camera operators, play for the wardrobe designers, and it just kind of infected and affected the set in a really great way. So it was amazing.
So that bathroom scene where he's dancing.
Yes.
In the public bathroom, was that to?
That was a perfect example of one, the bathroom scene where he's dancing after he kills the 3 guys on the subway. That scene, I was literally playing him the score off my iPhone, and he was dancing to it. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah,
Can you
very
pass the
cool.
mic behind you? There's just a gentleman. There we go. We've got time for one more after
A
the.
couple more, let's do it.
Hello, Todd.
And if anybody's bored, please feel free to leave. I won't be offended. I don't want you to feel like I'm holding you hostage here.
Hello, Todd.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to be here tonight. And to meet you. And loads of people that I know send their love and their blessings on the movie.
Thank you.
And also, I just want to say that the scene with Arthur on the subway scene really touched home with me, because a few years ago on my way to work, I had some homophobic comments thrown at me. And the whole entire scene just really touched me, because I can so relate to what Arthur went through during that scene. And also, Pastor, my question is, which scene was really challenging for you to film, and how did you get about with dealing with it?
I'm sorry to hear that, but thank you for what you said. I'd say the hardest scene to film was the scene where he kills the guy in his apartment, and then the little guy runs out, Gary. And that was only hard because tonally we're all over the place in that scene, which also I think makes it a great scene. It starts out with tension, you don't know what Arthur's gonna do. It moves into horrific violence. It moves back to sort of comedy with Gary, and it just becomes sort of depressing at the end of it. And there's something, again, talking about being a purveyor of tone, to kind of switch the tone back and forth in that scene was something really challenging, but also one of the most fun scenes to shoot.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Okay, we got time for one more. Have you got someone?
Here, go. Just say it.
Up there. Oh, we got.
All the
should we
way up
go-
there.
should we
Just
go
say
up?
it. I can hear.
Go,
you.
shout us your question. Go.
Okay, she asked the role of the director, essentially. How did I help Joaquin get to the place he has to get? That's a much longer answer, but it's really the whole job of being a director. Honestly, it's not one word or one thing. It was, as I said, like 4 months of conversations about really dissecting Arthur and then Joker, and talking about motivations and talking about inspirations for Arthur. So it's a hard thing to distill down to a short answer, but it's ultimately what you do as a director is you're there as a sounding board, you're there as support, you're there as another eye, and you're kind of there protecting the tone of what you wrote. But it's a lot of things, really.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're running out of time, sort of thing. So we've got to say thank you so much for being here
Thank you,
tonight.
guys. Great
And
question.
Huge round of applause to Todd, please, for taking time to come tonight.
Thank you.
Good luck next Sunday.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're back here next Sunday at the BAFTAs.
Have a safe journey home, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care.